It's time now for How We Felt About. And Eric and I watched a whole bunch of movies over the last 3 weeks, and we're going to tell you about them right now. We watched 2 brand new movies together. I watched a new one without you, Eric, and then I've got
That's
another...
fine. I'll watch a new one without you next time.
Okay, cool. Yeah, probably, more than likely. And then we also have some older stuff to talk about as well. So this is going to be a longer How We Felt About. We're going to jump right into it and knock these out as lickety-split as possible for us. We're going to start with A Wrinkle in Time, which came out last weekend, not this last weekend, but the weekend before.
And we were both quite excited for it.
We were really excited about it. We thought the trailer looked really good. I went back and actually reread the source material in anticipation, because it had been a while since I had read Wrinkle in Time, which sort of, for seeing the film, for me, I think ended up being kind of a mistake. Although, I gotta tell you, I don't think I would have appreciated a lot of the stuff in that film, even regardless of that. I know you didn't.
Because I did not go back to this, and I haven't read since I was a small child.
So we're making it really obvious, but we'll just come out right now and say, I don't know what happened with that, but it did not come together to me, and a lot of really baffling choices in adapting that material. Obviously, as I always say, it does not have to be exactly like the source material. That movie does not get the point of Wrinkle in Time. It's a different thing, but is presenting itself like it's not, and it just baffling choices. We'll get into a little bit of it. Let's lead with anything we liked, because there was not much for me on my end. There was not a lot I liked about this movie.
I like Chris Pine. I think he's really coming into his own with this and Wonder Woman and his one musical number in Into the Woods. I think it turns out I like this Chris Pine fellow. Oh, and Beyond, obviously.
Yeah.
Turns out I like this Chris Pine fellow. Who I thought
I always liked Chris Pine as Kirk, even if I didn't care for the material.
I always thought he was just like a stock kind of generic actor.
Oh, interesting.
Just like a handsome leading man.
Okay, so you're not making a joke when you say that.
No. I'm legitimately coming around.
You're just now coming around on Chris Pine. Oh, I didn't realize. Okay, cool.
Yeah, no, I liked him quite a bit, even at the end where the movie completely falls apart.
I thought he
more than it already had.
He was having a hard time acting through that stuff.
I liked him.
Okay.
I was engaged by him every time he was on screen.
I mean, by contrast, he was always the best thing going on, but...
Other good things.
I like the performance of the happy medium. I think that guy is funny, and I think he's pretty charming in that scene.
Is he the seance guy?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's Zach Galifianakis.
Yeah, I just couldn't think of his name.
Yeah.
There were a couple of lines he had that you and I both chuckled at.
Yeah, he was kind of funny, and I don't usually like Zach Galifianakis, so that was nice.
Yeah.
Performance-wise, I thought the youngest child was quite good. It was weird because he's basically playing the role of a kid. There's a sitcom called Fresh Off the Boat, which is about a Chinese family in the 90s, and their youngest son basically plays this character on a regular basis, and I don't know why he wasn't cast. Maybe he was been a little too old, but I thought that was weird. But otherwise, I thought performance-wise, I thought he's the best of the 3 kid actors.
Yeah, but that's not.
Maybe he just looks good in contrast.
But that's not saying a lot. I didn't think he was great. It's tough going into a thing like this after a lot of great child performances in other movies we've seen lately, like It. It's rough, and that kid completely loses me when he has to play evil, because I just start laughing at him every time he's on screen.
Yeah.
That got unintentionally hilarious.
Yeah.
And I needed something to latch onto because I was so bored at that point, and laughing at his performance was what got me through that part of the movie, and that's unfortunate, and I feel bad about it. But that kind of happened. I should also note that he's playing a totally different character than who that kid is supposed to be in the book.
While watching the movie and while we were walking out, I got the sense that, like, because you'd gone back to the book, you were kind of angry.
Yeah.
I was bored. That is my big sign about this movie.
Once I realized
this
wasn't
bored.
really Wrinkle in Time, I was bored too. But
yeah, but I was bored from the word. Like, there's a point where I lean over, I'm like, do we take this long in the book? And you're like, yeah, but it's more character building. So I thought you were more with the movie while we were watching it. I was bored by the time I leaned over to you and was like, is this what we do in the book?
Yeah, and at that point, I was, and I thought it could still turn around maybe, but that was before we completely oversimplified some already pretty simple mythology, where we make what they call the it, and... Because in the book it's just it. Everyone refers to this thing because they don't have a name for it. Is it? They basically make it like the nothing in the never-ending story. They take the darkness, which is a little bit like the nothing in the never-ending story, and they combine them and make them the same thing, and they make the planet that they go to where it is in the book, which in the book is a literal giant brain, but not the way it is in the film. And because it just controls the society on that planet, and anyway, they combine those two things, and they make that planet the source of the darkness, and it just completely oversimplifies all of it.
And they do not care about having rules for their world. Mm-mm. Even if you change the rules, you have to have rules.
Yeah, no, certainly. And so they just start making all these really baffling choices where I'm like, I don't mind that you're going your own way to some degree if it's compelling, but I don't even know... It's almost like they kept writing themselves in corners because they were making change for the sake of change, right? So it's like, okay, we've decided that I can't remember the name of it right now. We've decided that planet is going to be the source of the darkness and that you can't Tesser there. I don't know what we can't Tesser there means.
Because they did. They showed up there and then they left.
It's worse than that, okay? It's worse than that, Jim. So what they do is they say, because again, no, I think it's Oprah, I forget who. When one of the misses, they call them that, they call them the misses in the film. They usually are misses something rather. And when one of them is like, well, we can't Tesser there, the reason they end up going there is because Meg just thinks about it too hard and really wants to go there because that's where her father's supposed to be. So then they end up winding up there. So when you said we can't go there, is it because it's a bad idea or because you thought it was physically impossible? I don't even know what the rules are.
Well, and also, she has a real hard time Tessering. It's the ending of the movie is this 6-hour ordeal of her Tessering for the first time, and it's this whole big deal, man, of she can't Tesser, or she can't Tesser well. So we have 5 people that can Tesser fine, Tessering, and she's thinking about her dad, and it takes all of them with her. How does that make sense?
It's like supposed to be this really emotionally driven thing they've decided now, I guess.
And then Oprah tells them, don't trust anything on this planet. Yeah. They disappear and then they start speaking to them from above, and I'm like, well, I wouldn't trust that.
They just said, don't trust anything we're seeing.
And then they stop speaking to them. They stop guiding them. They're just there for that one moment.
Yeah. And they're not wise. Like, they're supposed to be... They're supposed to have some wisdom, and they're supposed to... I think know a little bit about the future, or at least have something close to premonitions. I mean, in the book they do, because so in the novel the idea isn't that they go to that the misses go to them in order to. Sorry, it's been a couple weeks since we saw this. And we've already reviewed a bunch of things today. In order to just go find her dad, like that's ultimately the part of the end goal and the big thing for her, but like there's stuff she's got to learn how to be able to do, and she's got to learn something about herself before she's got enough wisdom to be able to do that. And so they guide her without telling her everything and without giving her a total sense of why they're helping her and what the whole thing is about, because she has to figure out some of it on her own. And in this, they just make it this, like, they oversimplify it. They make it this big paramount mission that they have to go find her dad, and it just feels like a really plot-driven thing that's not really about anything. And we just keep throwing the word love around constantly, and we act like that we have this really compelling message because of that. And yes, in the book, the reason that they're able to defeat the darkness is because they have compassion, they have love, they care about each other, and that is part of what makes them individuals and what makes them distinct. And the darkness is this this being of hatred that just takes over everything, and so you're able to beat that. Like, the message of the book is all about individuality. Mm-hmm. And that's nowhere in the film. No. It's not about that at all. No. It goes out of its way to avoid being about that, and that's what the material was. And so the book is partly like, whether you agree with this or not, like the ideal of that book is at least partly you have to be yourself and have a chance to make your own mistakes and grow and change. And love is part of that, and like love is connected to that. Mm-hmm. And if you're just a big scary collective consciousness, there can be no love in that, and that's why love is thrown around in matters is important. And the whole love thing is just really generified and thrown there from the beginning, which is what I was afraid it would be, and that's totally what it was.
It's terribly directed.
Yeah.
Disney has attempted to adapt this once before as a television film, and they've attempted to adapt it now this second time as a television film.
I mean, I hate that. It looks it's
a $100 million movie that looks like it cost $30 million.
I saw Selma. I did not expect this from her, like from this director. I thought.
No, I'm really glad she didn't get Black Panther after this. If this is what she thinks,
unless for
directing
some
reason, like an epic or like a genre film is like,
it's a kids movie, and so for some reason we have to constantly shoot people's heads like it's a CW drama. I don't understand that, but she's constantly. I mean, it's way too close on people's faces constantly, right? Mm-hmm. It was kind of hard to look at, I thought.
Yeah.
And I just didn't expect it for. I don't know. I just don't know what happened.
I haven't seen any of her other films. It seems like she has no idea how to direct actors, because the lead actress in this is terrible.
We're just saying based on this.
Yeah. But the lead actress in this is terrible.
I think so too.
She never for a moment has like emotions on her face. Like, people will say things to her that are clearly, as written, supposed to have an impact on her, and she is waiting for her turn to talk. The entire movie, I would describe to her performance as waiting for her turn to talk. And then the boy could have been cut out of the movie.
Yeah.
Now, part of that's a scripting problem, but he just disappears into the background in scenes.
Yeah, he doesn't serve the story really at all, and it treats it like he's just there because she needs a love interest, and yeah, that is her love interest, but like Meg is the protagonist of that story, mm-hmm. but the other kids are that go with them. I mean, she has two siblings that are just cut out entirely, but they don't actually go on the trip in the book, so we didn't really need them. But like the other two kids, they bring something to the table, or they end up being liabilities in some way, and it's they kind of forget all about that, or they find weird ways to sort of string it in, and you don't even appreciate what they're doing unless you read the book. Like, I feel like there's a lot of stuff in this that I only
you
understand.
You had to explain to me that the kid was almost psychic.
Yeah, like, I only understand why they make certain choices because I read the source material, but then they seem to be, for no good reason, trying to go counter often to the source material, so then I don't really know who this is for, because I feel like some of it's hard to follow if you're not familiar with it, but then it botches it all sideways.
It's a bad movie. I wanted to leave halfway through, and then afterwards you said you also wanted to leave halfway through.
Yeah.
It's boring, it's dull, it's one of the least engagingly shot
and I can't
of these kinds of films
all
I've
at
seen.
The director's feet, because some of it is a conceptual problem. Now, it could have been handled way better than it was, mm-hmm. Even with what they decided to do with it conceptually, but this is difficult material to adapt, to the point where I'm not totally sure it's real adaptable. Mm-hmm. Part of the reason I was really excited about this was just looking at the trailers, I thought maybe somebody figured it out. And the issue is, it's a science fiction fairy tale. It's the best way I can describe it.
Like Doctor Who?
Yeah, kind of, but like, it has a lot of, like the way it's structured, like, it has a lot of archetypes of fairy tales and like kind of, your basic plot points of fairy tales. Like, it's of fantasy epics, where, it's an artifact finding mission, and we have to, you find yourself along the way, and there is there's like mythological creatures that are wise and help you. They're Cagliostro and they help you on your way. But
and they have a plan.
But there is a somewhat, if not loose. There's always, if not a loose one, scientific explanation for everything that happens, and so there is a what if question, and so it is a science fiction thing, but anyway, so that's what the material is. I think Wrinkle in Time is too foundational for a lot of like young adult, kid, and juvenile fiction, but also just kind of science fiction stuff in general, to treat it like it's the first time you've ever seen any of this stuff. And you have to somehow, and I don't have a great answer for this, but you have to somehow acknowledge that in the material, and it kind of simultaneously acts like Tesseracting, or like the Tesseract, that Tessering is this mind-blowing, amazing thing, and also, like we've seen it 1,000 times before, right? Like, just all at the same time. It's having a hard time deciding who it's for, but also how to deal with the fact that this is an older property that has influenced so much other stuff. My point is, I think you start at period piece. Yeah.
No, this clearly should have been a period piece. And we don't spend enough time on Earth or do enough with anything modern for it to need to not be.
And it hurts it tonally, where it's trying to be whimsical like that book was, but it's really difficult to update it and have the same flavor.
It's like early versions of the Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe were supposed to be, the wardrobe was going to be a pool, and it was going to be hamburgers that he got from the White Queen and things like that. Lion, Witch, and the pool.
Yeah, you can't even call it that anymore. Yeah, what are you doing? Yeah, you have to. I'm not saying that it can't, that it definitely can't be done updated, but I wouldn't start from that place. I think that immediately made it difficult for them to figure out tonally what it is, and I don't know. It just the whole thing just breaks down and doesn't.
It's the second movie I've seen in a year now that felt like a bizarre relic of like 90s children's films. This is comparable to The Dark Tower.
I think so too.
I think I enjoy The Dark Tower more.
I think it's worse than The Dark Tower.
I think it's worse than The Dark Tower.
This is one of the worst theater-going experiences I've had in recent memory. And I'm telling you, I think I would still have not enjoyed it if I hadn't read the material, but I felt like it was insulting that material because I think it was avoiding, like, if you don't, I mean, this is going to maybe sound harsh, but if you don't like what the material is saying, maybe do something else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Can I complain about something that I never complained about ever?
Yeah.
Can I complain about costuming?
Yeah, okay. I wanted to go there too.
So, all of the costuming is not great. But the worst, one of the misses is played by the woman from the Mindy Project, which I've never seen. I just have seen trailers on Hulu, but she plays Mindy.
Oh, yeah.
There's a point where she has to run, and it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing that they shot it, that they thought it was acceptable, that they put in their movie.
Her whole quote thing.
We'll talk about that too.
Yeah,
we'll talk about that too. So, it's really embarrassing because she can't run in the dress they made for her. First of all,
I didn't even pick up on that.
The wardrobe changes multiple times throughout that scene.
Sure.
Like, sometimes we cut away and we cut back and they're in different clothes. If she has to run, do not put her in a dress that she can't run in.
They never explain what those entities are.
No.
And like
I don't know what they are.
In the book, they're these they're each entities that have been around for thousands of years, and one of them was a star, and they don't tell you any of that.
No, we just know that
and again, it doesn't have to be like the book, but give me something. Like, if I didn't know the material, I don't know what I would have to latch onto. I have no idea what's going on. But sorry, you were complaining about wardrobe.
She can't run. They made a dress she can't run in, and then thought it was okay to shoot her running, and she's just the struggle on this actress's face trying to run in a dress not designed for her to do that. Just make a different costume. Yeah. I'm sorry, just make a different costume. You can't do that. You can't put that in a $100 million movie. Yeah, and all of the wardrobe was uninspired. When Oprah first shows up and she's giant, It looks like a TV movie from the 90s. She's acting like she's in a TV movie from the 90s.
Because she doesn't have anything to act against, and like I don't even think a lot of that is Oprah's fault. I like
Oprah. I was real excited when she was almost Amanda Waller.
I was really excited about her being in this.
But it seemed like she didn't want to be here.
Yeah.
It seemed like nobody wanted to be here. There's no joy.
Which makes a lot of sense because it just doesn't feel like it's really about anything.
The only person who wanted to be here is Chris
Pine. It feels like it's just representative of the of some of the stuff that's in that book, but I can't even say the main iconography. You know where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
Because the one image that anybody that's read Wrinkle in Time remembers is the winged centaur creature, just not in the film.
Which was on the cover of the book that I had when I was a kid.
And instead we replace it with like a flying plant creature, which looks really bad. It's just that CG is terrible.
And that scene's awful.
Like I appreciate the attempt at being creative and maybe trying something else, but this was $100 million movie, and at that budget, you didn't try this. But then I'm glad they didn't, because it would have looked really bad. But I don't know where the money went.
That's
how much did Oprah cost? Like I don't know.
$90 million.
I don't know what this. Honestly, I expected to look it up, and the budget would be like $30 or $40 million. Like it looks like they had nothing to work with.
The point when she's flying and they like lift up, and it's supposed to be. Which, by the way, I got so done with the technobabble and the little girl talking about the technobabble, and this scene, she lifts up and he's like, "How are you doing that?" And instead of just saying like, "It's the wind, idiot," she's like, something thermodynamics, something," and like it's just not natural speak. And like I get that her parents are like astrophysicists or whatever. She goes to normal school. She knows how to talk to people, but the second they lift up, I'm like, well, you better hope she doesn't turn sharp or you're going to fall off. Immediately someone falls off, and I was like, well, you're idiots.
That's part of, yeah, that was ridiculous. That's part of the tonal issues with this, because if a different script might have made that technobabble stuff work and might have been part of the charm and the whimsy of it.
Mm-hmm. And the three misses feel like the Doctor. If the writers didn't know the Doctor was kind of scary,
yeah.
Like that's a running thing with the Doctor. The Doctor is kind of scary, and he might be a little bit out of his mind.
In the book, I get the sense that they're mysterious, and you don't totally know what they're about, but ultimately they're altruistic and their hearts are in the right place.
I don't get that from the film.
Well, especially because is it Mrs. Who doesn't like Meg, thinks it's a bad idea to bring her along, and
talks about it in front of her, but constantly.
But then it's weird because the movie can't decide whether she really thinks that or if it's a bluff to help Meg find her way. And when I get to the end of the movie, I have no idea which of those it is, and I don't think the movie knows either.
I'm pretty sure it's not. Also, Meg is apparently the most important person in the entire universe.
Yep. It's got that whole thing again.
Yep.
It feels like Michael Burnham all over again. And then with I'm gonna mix these up. I know. I think it's not what's it. It's anyway the last one. That does the quotes.
I think that would be Who. That tracks my brain that she would be quoting people and she's Mrs. Who.
I don't think that's right though.
Okay.
I think Who's the whatever. Anyway, so it's been a while. I don't remember. I can crack it open, but I'm not going to. So she and it's explained this way in the movie, and then we just suddenly get completely inconsistent with it for no good reason. I mean, like, they create these plot holes that don't even serve anything. They don't get us to some other place. It's not like we contrive... It's not always that we just contrive some dumb thing so that we can make more story happen. It just seems like we weren't thinking when we wrote lines, right? So... This was one of the things that irritated me the most, just because it's so easy to fix. Why would you do this? I mean, fix, like, why is it there in the first place? I don't understand. So she's constantly quoting famous people, famous wise characters, because real people who lived, and because it's explained kind of the same way in the movie as it is in the book. The idea is that she, they describe it as she doesn't like to think for herself. I didn't like that. That's weird. No, the idea is supposed to be that she's not used to spoken language, and she's kind of beyond that and doesn't need that, and so it's easier for her to go to eloquent speakers who come close to saying what she's thinking than trying to put the words together herself. It's a really interesting, nuanced idea, and she keeps doing that. And some of the quotes that they end up doing are they'll go to like modern rappers and stuff, and they do that way too often, and it gets really intrusive.
When you have a character like this, you get one modern reference as a joke. It shouldn't be 80% of your quotes. Like 80% of what she said was some kind of modern somebody.
Which it's part of why it's difficult to update this kind of thing. That's why you go period. But then they probably thought it would be too over kids' heads because A Wrinkle in Time is so much about literature and there's a lot of literary references and stuff, and kids just aren't going to get those references. So that's part of why they did that.
And that actress has a really hard time wrapping her mouth around the quotes.
You think so?
With the actual quotes, I wouldn't be surprised if we changed it a little bit. Because she had trouble. Like, I would have trouble saying some of these quotes naturally. Because
sure.
It's supposed to be as if she said them herself, and it sounds like she's reading from a book.
So, she suddenly stops doing the quoting thing. This is so ridiculous. They get to the evil planet, and Oprah or the other one, I forget which, explains that, and I don't know why she can't just explain it herself. I think one of the other ones explains it, I forget. But we're told that she stops quoting because she's tired and messed up because of going to this dark planet. But the reason she uses the quotes is because it's easier for her. It makes no sense that she would stop doing that because it
would be more likely she just wouldn't talk at all.
Yeah, exactly. And then when you get to the end of the movie, when she's not on that planet anymore, she's still not quoting, but speaking in this weird eloquent speech as if she's quoting. I don't know what's going on.
It feels really lazy.
Yeah, it's super lazy.
A lot of this movie feels really lazy.
The laziest thing in the entire movie, though, that is thrown in just because it's the other big thing people remember besides the flying horse creature, is the kids creepily simultaneously bouncing balls in the front yard, because that planet is not what it used to be. It's no longer that there's this brain that's forcing everyone to do all the same things at exactly the same time, so they don't have to think for themselves because it thinks that that's easier for them. So it's this, like, A Wrinkle in Time gives you multiple examples of ways that we take individuality away from people under with the notion that, like, it makes their lives easier and somehow it's better for them, and it does it in different ways. In this, I don't know why that scene is there.
No, because they walk there.
It doesn't do anything.
They may as well have just been like, well, that was weird,
and it's
and
not
then carried on.
Because it's not a society.
Yeah.
Like,
they turn around, now they're on the beach.
Yeah.
It's there because people know that is in that book.
Yeah, and that's all it is.
People know that.
Because it's basically, yeah, I mean, people that remember that book, that seems to be the big creepy thing people remember, besides the big brain creature, but it's, because, I mean, A Wrinkle in Time is a morality play. Like I say it's a fairy tale, but, like, it's basically a TOS episode, like an original series Star Trek episode. You know, we have to take out the brain because it's the evil computer that runs everything in the background, you know, and then we make the society, you know, learn how to work for itself.
It sounds like it's anti-collectivism.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, it's, I don't know, I thought it was really, really bad.
It's really, really bad.
So that's our review of that. Definitely, I mean, it's not the worst thing. If this came out last year, it wouldn't have been the worst thing I saw last year.
No, but it's really boring.
But it's really close.
It's not much better than Flatliners.
I don't think so either. No, I mean, I hate that. I was really excited about this one.
I was too. It looked like they were going to do a really good episode.
And I don't think my expectations were in the moon or anything.
No, I just hoped I would enjoy it. And then about 15 minutes in, I was like, oh no, I'm not enjoying this. Maybe I shouldn't have come. Maybe I'm just not the audience for this. It feels like a kid's movie. Like a 90s kid's movie. It feels like a TV movie, like in 2003.
And, like, my wife and Jason, because Jason's been reading this book, like they were really excited to go see this, and I told Sarah 3 or 4 things, and she was like, I'm waiting a video before I see that. Okay, let's move on now to Tomb Raider, which just came out last week, and Eric and I saw opening night, and this was a film that it's weird, stark contrast to Wrinkle in Time, because Wrinkle in Time I was really looking forward to, and went and saw and was like, this isn't anything like what I thought it was going to be, and that material and stuff. And Tomb Raider put out what I thought was a really lackluster trailer.
And we were like, should we go see this?
Well, I was.
I was going to go regardless.
Well, yeah, but I think you had more faith in it. I was kind of gotta give you this one because I kept saying that she looked really bland just with what we saw in the trailer, and you kind of didn't buy into that. And ultimately at the end of the day, you were right about that. But I guess you do agree with me that they could have advertised this way better.
No, I didn't think it looked good. I was like, it looks like it could go either way. It looks like it could be really boring, or it could. Well, it didn't look great. But I thought I might enjoy myself.
Yeah,
and I like
when I said that too.
Movies.
There was a chance that they just didn't cut the right trailer together. There was a chance with Wrinkle in Time that they cut together a great trailer for a movie that wasn't very good. I mean, as I always say, trailers are there to get you to go, not to tell you what's actually in the movie. Mm-hmm. And Tomb Raider really screwed up with its advertising because, in my opinion, they had something pretty cool on their hands, and they could have made it look way cooler.
Yeah.
Maybe they were trying to avoid showing you too much of the really cool stuff, but I would have put at least a flash of that super awesome lighting they do when she crashes in the boat. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's some kind of inspired cinematography in this, and lighting, and you could have really cut together a trailer that would have made more people go, and you would have done better than 26 million domestically opening weekend. Eric, I walked into this hoping that I would enjoy myself, not really planning on, not really even wanting to go that much, and I could not get my mind around how much I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It's weird because I'm not big into the treasure hunting thing. I'm not an Indiana Jones fan. This is a thing that Eric would want to go to more than I would. And my only investment in Tomb Raider is I played a little bit of the games when I was a kid and was terrible at them. And
tank controls suck.
And after the Angelina Jolie movies, I want a Resident Evil movie for somebody where before you kill a zombie, you have to go like this. Yeah, and Tomb Raider also. I want her to get on top of a cliff and be like, and then dive. But anyway, I want a Tomb Raider movie where she has to go and then start firing. But after the Angelina Jolie movies, I kind of just wanted to see a more understated Tomb Raider movie that kind of felt more like I felt when I played those games. And oh boy, this is that movie.
That's what the modern games, from what I understand, are like.
Yeah.
I have a third time rented the new Tomb Raider. I'm going to try it.
Maybe I'll actually try it this time.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll play it too. But anyway, what was weird is it tickled my sensibilities in ways I couldn't have imagined and won me over on the genre that we're in. It is Tomb Raider Begins, and it goes to the Batman Begins place in the best way one of the best ways I've probably ever seen.
It reminds me a lot of Batman Begins and a lot of Casino Royale, which is taking a lot of cues from Batman Begins.
Yeah.
It feels like it could have. It almost feels like there's
and
an
there are
unofficial
parallel scenes. It rips it off in the best way possible. I never feel like it's just. It's just coasting on that stuff.
It feels like almost an unofficial trilogy of Batman Begins, Casino Royale, and then Tomb Raider.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, no, I was really shocked.
Weren't you? Were you just stunned by it?
Yeah, I loved this movie. It was great.
I do too. Now, I don't want to do that thing that folks think we sometimes do, where it's like a movie is only brilliant or it's horrible. Yes, Wrinkle in Time was really bad, I thought. Yes, Tomb Raider was really good. It's not a perfect movie or anything. I mean,
no, there were problems, and we've talked about some of the problems.
Yeah.
But we're not going to tell you guys about them, but we talked about them privately.
There are problems. We don't want to spoil the problems because they might not know. This movie needs more people to see it. I want a sequel. And I desperately need a sequel to this.
Me too.
Because there is a really good movie here, but it has the potential. Now, I love Begins more than I do Dark Knight. That's just a personal thing. Mm-hmm. But it has the chance to have a Dark Knight.
I agree.
And it really needs to get a sequel.
Yeah, no, this is it's an incredible setup film.
Yeah.
In how,
but not just setup. I mean, there's a good story.
Yeah. But like, it's really good at setting up a franchise in that it doesn't give you almost anything.
Yeah.
Like, it just gives you a couple of pieces, not unlike Dr. No, where we know Spectre exists. But it just gives you little pieces. It doesn't feel like it's baiting you. It feels like it's telling a story, and there could be more. Not unlike Batman Begins.
Yeah, because if Begins had never gotten sequels, I would still love Begins.
Yeah.
And the same thing is true with this.
Yeah.
It's more sequel baity than Begins is, certainly. I mean, like...
Just in that
there's not a big looming threat in the background that we don't get to.
Yeah.
In Begins.
Whereas
we do have that here. You're right, it is more Bondian in that way.
Yeah.
But it's more Bondian material in the first place.
But, well, and, I mean, at the end of Begins, we know the Joker's coming. Like,
right, I'm just saying
it sets up a direct threat next.
No, but my point is, this was leading to that
That's
all
true.
along.
That's true.
Begins does not have that.
That's true. Yeah, it's just... it's the first movie since Indiana Jones finished making movies with Last Crusade, where, like, it feels like a movie that's like an Indiana Jones movie. Like, there's a lot of treasure hunting movies, and all of them feel far smaller in scope. This only goes to really, like, 2 locations. It's not the globe-trotting of Indiana Jones, but it feels like they tapped into whatever they tapped into for Indiana Jones that nothing else... Like, National Treasure is fine, but it doesn't have the energy or excitement.
And the stakes turn out to be really huge, but it's all in a really intimate place, and it is all at the end in a tomb. They go to an actual
she
tomb.
Actually is in a tomb.
She has to raid a tomb.
And there's a number of points in this movie where I was like, this could go bad.
Yeah.
I
had that all the way through.
The first moment where I'm like...
In fact, I had exactly what I did with Wonder Woman, where I kept waiting for it to turn, and it never did.
Yes, I had the exact same thing. The first big thing was when she lays out, like, there's going to be, like, 3 challenges. And one of them is, like, a leap of faith. It's not called a leap of faith, but it's like a leap of faith. The other one is, like, praying. And I was like... Okay, so there are 3 challenges to get to the Holy Grail. One of them is a leap of faith. The other one is only the penitent man shall pass, where he has to literally kneel to avoid the buzzsaws. And I was like, are we doing that? The leap of faith is beaten by modern technology because we have ladders. That is how we beat the leap of faith. We have a ladder.
That's awesome.
And then the other one's a completely different trap. It just has a similar sounding name. And I was like, I told you after we walked out, I was like, this should feel like a ripoff of Last Crusade.
Yeah.
We have 3 challenges. We have a father-daughter, this is the thing that her dad was obsessed with and took him away from her, and she hasn't been able to reconnect with it.
Well, obviously
it
there's a lot of stuff
feel more like a ripoff of Last Crusade than it does.
Well, especially in the third act, there's also a bunch of stuff it takes from Raiders and doesn't feel like it's ripping it off.
Yeah, no, it feels like inspiration.
Yeah. I think the best thing about this movie is that it is an honest-to-God video game movie.
Mm-hmm.
And this goes without saying. Eric said this to me when we got to the credits, and he only got to say it before me because he beat me to it. Halfway through, the thought came to my mind, and I was like, I just have to wait and see. And walking out, my plan was to turn to you and say, best video game movie so far of all time, right? And you beat me to it.
Yeah.
We both had this thought.
Yeah. No. It's not a hard thing to do.
It's not hard.
This is, and I like a couple of video game movies. I like Mortal Kombat. I like Warcraft. This is far and away the best video game movie ever made.
Well, and it's just, the story is so tight.
It doesn't feel like a video game movie, while it also feels like a video game movie.
Yeah, and I'll get to that in a second, but the narrative feels really tight, where there is nothing you can take out of it.
Mm.
Like, it doesn't feel like it's missing scenes. It doesn't feel like it's padded. And even the really action-driven portions, like, I feel like I need those, because Lara Croft is building skills as we go through the movie. There's a lot of character building. There's a lot of just physical skill building. Everything she goes through, it doesn't feel like just generic action fare, or like we have to have our obligatory car chase, we have to have our obligatory plane crash or whatever, and all those sorts of things are in there. Although there is not a straight up car chase, there's just a bike chase at the beginning.
Yeah.
It's nice that they subverted that, but
which immediately started me off with the wrong foot, because I hate bikers and how they treat other people, and she's one of them.
I just didn't know what we were doing right away, and I was like, really, this is what we're doing in our Tomb Raider movie? And it was really cool to start with something that's small.
Oh, they give you $6 to make your Tomb Raider movie?
It just builds and builds, and gets to the big fun crazy action scenes that you'd want, but they don't feel like you said, it feels like a video game, but it's not a video game in the sense that you're not just like, okay, we have a cookie cutter scenario in the background with our MacGuffin finding mission in order to make these big action scenes happen. The MacGuffin is compelling in and of itself. That's a thing that I really appreciate. Is that ends up being one of the most interesting things in the movie, is the thing we go to find.
Yeah.
Like in Indiana Jones, you know, like it's really cool. It's not just this generic piece of glowy power. It is a powerful thing, not in the way we thought it was, and then really not in the way we thought it was. That's really cool. But also, I'm so with her and worried for her, and it's so visceral. Like, it's really realistic action at the same time as it's really over the top action.
Well, and it's awesome because nothing comes easy.
Yeah, exactly.
Lara Croft bleeds and hurts and earns every single arc and growth she gets. When she first kills someone, it's really
that's an
brutal.
Intense moment, and that was, I'm jumping all over the place, but that was one of the most impressive things to me, is that this is, to some degree, a loss of innocence movie, and well, I guess it's very much a loss of innocence movie, but it's about a character who would never have thought that she would kill someone, and then does that, and it's about how it changes her, but we never talk about it. It's just there inherently. It's really smart about that. It's really smart about what it talks about and what it leaves up to visual storytelling and the acting. But when I say it's a great, it's a great video game movie. I've been waiting for this forever. It feels like a video game put in theaters for people who don't want to play a video game. Eric and I could not stop doing this. Throughout the movie, we would look. We kept finding these places where we would look at each other, and we would either talk about what the QuickTime event would be like if it was a Telltale game, or I would say. That puzzle would have killed me, and I would never get through this. And I would
have thrown the controller down.
There's a scene where she has to do stealth stuff where I'm like, I would have died 6 times.
Yeah.
All the puzzle solving stuff and all the stealth things and even a lot of the action scenes, they all feel like things that you would be doing in a video game if it was that you know, is interactive stuff that is perfectly woven into this narrative, but the narrative feels like it could be the story of a Tomb Raider game. This should have a video game.
Yeah. Well, we were like, why does not Tomb Raider have a Telltale game?
And then I guess you could make the case, well then if that's the case, if this could make for a great video game, then what justifies it being in the movie theater? Like, why not just make it a game in the first place?
It's a good character piece, and it's a good story.
Well, but people would say, yeah, but you can have a good character piece and a good story in a video game that's interactive, and I agree, but this is like people who aren't going to read a comic book. You deliver it to the audience that will go there, but will not read panel for panel, or are going to get too stuck in all the puzzles that I suck at and can't play.
Like the color puzzle.
Like the which
I would have died so many times.
There's this this bit, and we're spoiling a little bit, but there's this bit where she's trying to figure out this puzzle, and she finally kind of figures out what she has to do. She hasn't even totally figured it out yet. There's layers to it.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that. She thinks she's done, and then, oh no, there's this other layer. But she just goes, and it wasn't intrusive or anything. Like somehow it worked, but she just goes, oh, it's a color puzzle. And it's like she knows she's in a video game. It's hilarious.
I think this movie does 2 things better than a lot of other movies of this kind.
Oh, and then make your point about the puzzles and how we don't know.
That's what we're going to.
Yeah. Please do that.
So there are 2 things that this movie does, I think, a lot better than a lot of other movies. It's 2 different things. One of them is a treasure hunting thing, and one of them is an origins thing. So the first thing is, so we have these complex puzzles. The big one that jumped out to me is these spinny things that she has to spin to open a door. The problem with a lot of puzzle movies, a lot of scenes like this, is they have to make it a puzzle that we, the audience, can understand, which then makes it seem dumb, and like anybody could do it, and how can the villains not figure this out? What they do is they establish and build credibility that Lara Croft is in fact a very smart person. And it's not just the movie telling us she's smart, we see numerous instances of her being actually smart. So when we get to this puzzle...
she's nowhere near Mary Sue. Like,
I
buy everything she does.
She's not like Michael Burr.
And, like, she's Batman.
Yeah, no, she's Batman.
But I buy it.
So we get to this thing where she's...
Can I have that crossover now? Like, after I've seen this movie, I want that. I want the Lara Croft Batman comic. Like, I really want that now.
Yeah, that could work. But so she spins these things, and we're told, like we don't know what these are, and we see her doing puzzles like this earlier, and we never explain what those puzzles are or how they work. We just see her doing them, and then she does them.
No, but I bet the filmmakers know how they work.
Oh, I bet you they know exactly how they work. So she does this puzzle, and we don't have to explain to the audience step by step, like, what the puzzle is. All you know is the spinning thing, and she figures it out, because that's all that's important for us.
Yeah.
You don't have to explain it, because the only way you can explain it is to make it sound dumb. Right? Like...
Yeah.
Like, I never realized before, I'm like, this is why so many of these movies fail. It's because everyone feels like an idiot. Because it has to be something I can understand.
Yeah.
It gives that to me when it needs to, and it doesn't give it to me when it doesn't need to.
Now, that's not to say that this movie doesn't have a little bit of a hand-holding problem.
Yeah.
Because it does like to give us flashbacks in moment too often in order to explain something that I feel like I can kind of figure out on my own. That's my biggest beef with it, is that it does that kind of thing too, especially at the end.
Yes.
We get a montage of like 7 of them while she's piecing stuff together, and one of them from like a scene 30 seconds earlier, and I feel like my hand is being held a little bit too long, and like somebody put an ice cream cone in the other side, in the other hand. Like, I feel like a 4-year-old when I watch that scene.
So the second thing I think it does really well is an origins movie thing. More movies need to look at this movie, because what it does is, while the epilogue scene has her with 2 guns, which I guess is the Tomb Raider thing, it's a Lara Croft thing, this is not a movie where you get to the end credits and it's like, hey, you know that movie, you know that character you paid $10 to see?
Yeah, that movie you thought you were going to?
Here they are.
Yeah.
Now they're finally them. This gets her to the Lara Croft Tomb Raider place by the 3rd act. And we have the character you came to see, we saw her get to this point, and you get to see her do things. So it doesn't feel like you sat through 2 hours waiting for the character you came to see. You get to see her. We build to her, and it's not the last scene of the movie that she's finally completed.
No, and arguably, she is that person the whole time, she just doesn't have a direction for it.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, like, yeah, she grows and changes throughout the movie. Like, she has to be a person who's willing to kill before you can hand her 2 guns. Like, we have to get her to that place. We have to get her to... I mean, the second half of that movie is all survival.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you don't like Man vs. Nature much. You gotta admit, it's handled really well.
No, it's handled really well here.
Partly because it's so thrilling.
And it feels like a legitimate thriller, which is a movie which is a kind of movie we seem to have lost. It's either soulless and, like, obligatory, or it just doesn't work at all.
I thought it was real classic action movie.
Yeah.
Like, in a lot of it's practical, but the stuff that's not is really well integrated. There was not one CG scene that I thought didn't look good. That where I was taken out.
One of the most important things about I think it's Alicia Vikander. It's something Vikander. Her last name's Vikander. The actress who plays Lara Croft.
And I mean that is a performance, man.
She she got in such physical shape. This is a thing that I think breaks down for a lot of heroes and heroines in films. I'm sure that there are stunt doubles in this movie. I'm sure she did not do everything. There is not a second where I don't believe she can do it.
And that she's the one doing it.
Which actually is one of my biggest problems with the movie, is the final scene, or there's a scene near the end where the bad guy's got her, like, pinned down with his feet, and she has to wait for something to distract him to, like, beat him. And I'm like, nah, I don't buy that he can hold you down. I buy that you can beat him up.
Yeah.
But I buy every second of everything she does.
Yeah, we almost... They almost shot themselves in the foot by making us believe her so much just in those scenes. I mean, like, I'm glad they did, but it's a testament to the performance and to how organic the character arc is, because she's and just the physicality of it. Because there are 2 or 3 places where I'm like, nah, you can take that guy. What are you doing?
Yeah,
like,
yeah. No, yeah. There's a number of times where it's like, nah, you can do this. I believe you.
I believe in you. Don't grab his head. That doesn't work on anybody.
I saw an interview with her that was really funny, where she talked about how it took her like 3 months to get into shape like that.
Yeah.
And then it took 3 weeks to lose it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because you're not constantly working out; it just goes away.
I think we talked about this the other day. I think the movie should have been called Lara Croft.
It should have been called Lara
You
Croft.
suggested that. I think you're right about that.
Okay, so I figured out why it's not though. So the current Tomb Raider games are just called Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
And then there was a side series called Lara Croft and the something something. Like each game is Lara Croft and the something something.
Okay.
That is set in the previous continuity.
Oh.
So the rebooted current Tomb Raider is called Tomb Raider.
And is this supposed to be based more on those games?
Yes,
on
yes.
The current
This
games?
is based on the current
This
games.
makes me really want to play those then.
Which is why I remember
this.
I mean, the cover is her bleeding with a bow and an arrow.
Oh, okay.
No.
Because the bow and arrow thing came out of nowhere for me. I was like, why is...
No, apparently this
that,
is
that became like a new
super-
signature weapon for a minute.
This is super based on that, on those games.
And
And those games are called Tomb Raider, whereas it's almost like a branding problem where, like,
yeah.
the things they call Lara Croft are the throwbacky things, and Tomb Raider is
the reason we thought maybe it should have been called that is because it's such a character piece for her.
Yeah, it should be called Lara Croft, and the second one should be called Tomb Raider.
But then the Tomb Raider title works just fine because she does raid a tomb. I mean, that is
It's
the
true.
thing she's
It's
doing,
true.
and she is becoming kind of a vigilante type. I mean, like by the end, when we get to the big reveal at the end, and she gets the guns, and she's gonna go into the wind and be like kick some ass. She's kind of a vigilante at that point. I mean, she's become Tomb like Tomb Raider is like her Batman moniker. She's Tomb Raider now. I mean, she doesn't even have like her full blown Tomb Raider-y like outfit, costume ever. Like
Yeah, no,
we never get to
but I also
that.
don't know what it is in the new games. I don't know if she has anything.
Does
in
she
the
not
games.
have like the cut off midriff thing anymore?
No, I don't think so. No, they've gotten real far away from that.
It's not practical
No,
anyway.
no.
Like I was worried that we would go to that in this and be like, but out in the jungle like that, it would make no sense. But I want to mention that like we haven't talked about a lot of the character stuff. I just want to mention that it's a really good father-daughter story. That's really unpredictable. It does not go where I think it's going to go, and I just really like. This kind of thing always I always really latch onto characters who lose a parent and are wayward and drifting and have a lot of potential, but they don't know what to do with it and they don't know where to go. There's a lot of stuff they could have played for really massive forced drama that they don't. The whole thing about why she refuses to sign for her father's money is like really sympathetic and understandable. It's not that it's not her money, it's that she doesn't believe that he's gone, and until she's for sure about that, she's not gonna take it from him. And I also really appreciate how the notion of the supernatural is handled in this movie. And I mean, I really thought this was going to end with a big light in the sky. We don't do that whole thing. And for people that haven't seen it yet, I'm not going to spoil any more. But that's really well handled. And I like that there's kind of an argument between her and her father early on about whether or not the big mystical threat is real, and they're kind of both right about it. And I wouldn't have thought that was possible.
You know what I just thought of while you were talking, because you said light in the sky? You know what this does that's amazing, that makes it better than almost every other movie we release? It's not a superhero movie. It doesn't adhere to the... You know how we're trying to make every genre a superhero film structure? It doesn't do that.
But it kind of cheats by sort of doing the Batman Begins structure with it, which is a superhero movie, but is not a superhero movie.
That's true, but it's... Like, I'm thinking...
Although in some ways, its third act is better.
The Batman Begins? It holds together a lot better.
In some ways.
I'm not saying it's a better movie overall, but it holds together as...
But I don't even want to use the word degenerates, but it becomes a superhero movie at the end where you have, the city is in peril and everything's falling apart and everybody's trying to kill each other. This doesn't do that, but the threat of that happening is there.
Yeah.
It's just cool how intimate it allows itself to be.
Yeah. No, it feels like a legitimate film. Like, they could have put this out and it not be based on a video game, and I wouldn't have been like, this feels like a video game.
Yeah. No, that stuff's only cool because I know about it.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like a superhero movie. And like that's really important because we cannot make an action movie that doesn't feel like a superhero movie, even when we're not doing that. And we're trying to put everything we possibly can.
Again,
into
we're saying that at the same
movie.
time as we're saying she's Batman, but I agree with you.
Yes. I'm talking about structurally and all of that.
Absolutely.
I also want to mention the villain, who's played by, I think his name's Walter Goggins.
He's terrifying.
He's in a lot of things. He's in Justified. He's in American Ultra. He's a working character actor, but often plays bad guy. I don't know if I've ever seen him play a good guy. I really like him. He has a really fascinating motivation, and his backstory is really interesting. And he's not a megalomaniacal. He's not a megalomaniacal villain that wants to take over the world for nebulous political reasons. And he's also not someone who's just there to get taken over by an evil spirit and become a force of nature that doesn't actually have a personality in the third act. He's just a guy who wants to get home. And I really like that. And he's not allowed to go home until he completes his mission.
And he's been on this island too long and it's messed him up.
Yeah.
And he's lost his humanity because he's been forced to do inhumane things. You never see him as a good person, but he's sympathetic in the traditional sense of that word.
Yeah. I
understand how he got that way. And you see him that way from the beginning. For a minute, I thought it was a little bit jarring when we get from the boat to the island and immediately we get to him and that stuff. I thought it was moving too fast, and then I didn't have that right after that.
I also like these surrounded, because at first I thought they made a mistake, and I was like, oh no. I love that he's surrounded by people, and he keeps talking about how he has no one to talk to.
I also thought they... Yeah.
I was like, there's a person walking right there, what are you talking about?
Yeah, or that, he was so messed up and out of it, he didn't even know there were other people outside. Yeah. I was like, did they just show up? What?
No, there's just no one interesting to talk to.
Yeah.
Because they're all just, mercs.
Well, but also, this is important, he looks at everyone as a means to an end, and he's just wanting to get back to his family, and they're the only people he thinks of as people at this point. So in his mind, there are no people.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
He doesn't think of them as people.
Yeah.
But the last thing I want to say real quick is I can't wait to go see this in the theater again, and I suggest people go to the theater because I think it is a great big screen experience.
Yeah, I agree.
Mostly because I love the character study. But it's unusual for me to want to go back more for visual stuff and aesthetics and atmosphere.
Well, you know Sarah's gonna love it.
And my wife will love it. But I have got to experience the boat crash into a dropping down a waterfall into a plane crash. That was the best. That was one of the most thrilling experiences I've had in the theater in a long time. How did I like this much?
I don't know.
Oh my god, I can't wait for our video game series next year now, because we're going to do commentaries, and we get to commentary this, and oh my god, I can't wait. We're going to have to do the other two old Tomb Raider movies before we get to that, but it will be worth it.
There's there's a character who's kind of Lara Croft's teammate throughout the beginning of the movie, and then he kind of disappears. What's amazing is that guy is so well characterized and well acted that I feel like I have a complete sense of who he is.
Even though he doesn't get a lot of screen time at all.
And I feel like a lot of the characters like that were we don't actually know a lot about our dad, but I get a really good sense of who he is.
Yeah.
It's really well made. I really like this movie as well.
Yeah, and I couldn't believe how confident it was. I think it gets away with that stuff.
I was hoping it would be good. I didn't expect to like it as much as I did.
I didn't expect a great story.
I didn't expect to be dying for the sequel and being I really hope this is the next big action franchise, because I really like this and I really want more of this.
Yeah, I hope word of mouth helps it. I hope a lot of people buy it on video.
Yeah, me too. I really wanted to get a sequel, but as always, everything I love does not get a sequel.
Eric, why don't you talk about some stuff that you watched that was not at the movie theater?
Okay.
How about that?
All right.
You watched a couple of weird off the beaten path B things.
Sure.
I never thought I would ever hear anyone talk about, but I guess I will today.
All right, so I'll start with Howard Lovecraft and the Frozen Kingdom, which is a film that I rented at work because I've been looking at it for a while, and I'm like, well, there's no way this is any good, right? So it's a low-budget children's film that I believe was produced by Shout Factory, because that's the name that's put on it, and I know this movie wasn't in theaters. So I think it might have been made by Shout Factory, which I didn't know they did that.
Yeah, weird.
It's a children's film. It's not a children's film. And it's a Lovecraft movie, but it's not a Lovecraft movie. The problem with this film is it has no idea who it's for. First of all, the animation is awful. It looks really bad. It looks like Jimmy Neutron, but it came out 3 years ago. It's really hard to watch. Just on an aesthetic level, which makes me think no kid's going to want to watch it. Anything on Netflix looks better than this. There's no reason that a kid would sit down and watch this. It's a traditional, kids film kind of narrative, and it's weird because it does the thing that we do, right? Where it's like everything that Lovecraft wrote is real. And the reason he's writing about it is because he experienced it as a kid. The problem is, it doesn't exactly line up with Lovecraftian mythology, and there's all these references, like for Lovecraft fans, but I don't think Lovecraft fans are going to enjoy the movie because it's not accurate to the mythology, and also it's a children's film. I don't know who this movie's for.
They're not going to be able to stand that animation.
Yeah, I don't know who this is for. Well, because it's not for me, but I also don't think it's for a kid.
And also, because of all that, how does it get greenlit?
There's two of them. There's a second one.
Who pitches this and gets money?
Apparently it's based on a graphic novel.
Oh, okay. All right.
But I don't know if that was well received. But yeah, no, it's really weird, and I'm getting really tired of this. That like we can only do Lovecraft if it's like really off the beaten path, like so far away that we're never going to be able to actually tell it well. It's like we keep doing Lovecraft things as if Lovecraft is actually a really popular thing that we've adapted many times.
Yeah.
We treat Lovecraft like we treat Sherlock Holmes. Except there isn't a long lineage of Lovecraft films. There's like 15. And most of those are like $6 movies. Like, I'm not saying there's not good ones, but it's not like...
You haven't had a lot of big budget ones yet.
And not the biggest stories, like Out of the Mountains of Madness, Call of Cthulhu. Like, these are not things that have been adapted into big budget films. It's not like Sherlock Holmes, and I feel like we're treating him like Sherlock Holmes. And, like, I didn't hate this movie. I was just baffled. Where I'm just like, why make this? All of that being said, this is going to be a weird note to end on, but there's these, like... squid people. I think they're Shagas, but I can't remember. Oh, also, all of the voice acting is just okay, except for Ron Perlman, who showed up with his A game.
What?
Yeah, Ron Perlman shows up for like 2 minutes, and he rocks. Like
You'd think that would have been like called from a bathroom.
And I've heard him phone things in. He's
Yeah.
the worst Batman voice actor I've ever heard.
What did he do Batman in?
Justice League Heroes, the PlayStation 2 video game.
That's why I didn't.
He sounds like he's falling asleep.
That's hilarious.
His Batman is a tired person. That's his take on Batman, which I guess is a legitimate take on Batman.
I don't think. Yeah, Batman doesn't get tired. He runs around 18 hours a day. He doesn't get any sleep.
Most of that game takes place during the day, not his normal awake time.
That's true. He's really out of it. He's just like someone give me some caffeine. But I don't think the voice acting was in that game was good overall. But
no. So he rocks. But then there's this. So Howard goes. Also, the movie opens with his dad in an asylum, which just doesn't seem like a kid's film kind of a thing. And his dad's like, it's like, whatever you do, don't read the Necronomicon. And it's like, I don't know what that means, but okay. And he goes home, and he can't fall asleep because his dad scared him because he's in an insane asylum, and it's like 1874, and you know what insane asylums were like then. They had the boxes.
The boxes, yeah.
Yeah. So his mom's like, oh, well, your dad has this book lying around. It's called Necronomicon. Why don't you just read this as some bedtime stories? And then he gets like transported to the other world, which again is there are dreamlands in Lovecraft, but they're not the same thing as what they're doing. It's like a parallel dimension. It's like an Oz kind of a thing.
Okay.
Which isn't how Lovecraft's mythology operates. But so anyways, he goes to his family, and they're all these squid people. I think they're Shagas, but I can't remember because I watched this like 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 now. But there's these squid people, and there's this little girl. There's like 2 little girls. One of them's like a real little girl, like maybe like 6. I don't know how it's possible. She's adorable. She has a whole thing where like they have to go like wash their tentacles before they eat, and she and their mom's like, "Did you wash your tentacles?" And she's like, "Kind of. I washed this one so it's clean. I didn't wash this one in case I need to get somebody with it." And she's really cute, and I don't know how. In this ugly movie with the subpar voice acting, I was like, "That's a really adorable character."
Well, it's really awkward when you have those kinds of like sparks of life and of like little bits of brilliance in an otherwise baffling,
This is like if they made
maybe somewhat
Coraline like with like a $6 budget with no cast and like made it more like a traditional like kids TV show or something.
Yeah, that's weird.
It's really disappointing. I mean, I didn't have any expectations, so it's not disappointing.
Yeah,
but I'm not angry with this movie. I'm just disappointed. Just make adult Lovecraft things. Let's talk about Last Witch Hunter, starring Vin Diesel, which is a movie I've been meaning to see for forever. Because I love Vin Diesel, because he's just a really earnest guy, and I adore the fact that he is stuck at 12, and his idea of, like, the coolest person is what I thought the coolest person was when I was 12, and he just, it seems like he was defined by, like, the 80s and 90s, like, what a cool guy is, right? Like, he doesn't talk a lot, he's real stoic, he walks around with, like, a long coat, and, like, he can just take anybody. Like, Vin Diesel, I get the impression, is the guy who wants to have the conversations about, like, who's the strongest character, and, like, I like the Hulk because he can beat anybody. Like, I get the impression he's like that. Like, he wants, and then, like, he grew up, and he's just made movies where he gets to be that person.
Yeah.
Where he gets to be really cool, and he gets to be better than everybody. And that's the epitome of what Riddick is. And I expected that from this because apparently it's based on his D&D character. Not a fantasy movie, not in the traditional, like, epic fantasy sense, like you would expect being based on his D&D character.
Yeah.
Opens way back when with him as a witch hunter. He kills this witch, and the witch is like, because he's like, we'll die together. And then she's like, well, what if you lived forever? Wouldn't that suck? And he lives forever. And what she didn't know is that it's Vin Diesel. So, like,
So it doesn't suck.
no, because for most people, in most movies, when you have an immortal character, whether it be a vampire or like Highlander or something like that, they like live like these really long lives, and they meet people, and they're very sad about I've loved these women, and like I loved all of them, but they all die, and like none of them will ever be with me forever, and all my family's dead. He doesn't have that.
Yeah.
I think we get like 2 lines about that. Maybe he's just a guy. He's just chill. He enjoys his life, and then so we have a whole opening prologue. Then we have an establishing scene of him in modern day on a plane fighting a witch. And then, because also, there's no fish out of water. There's no, like, I don't really get how computers work. He's just a normal person. And then we get a
makes sense if
voiceover.
he's been around this whole time.
Yeah.
We can get him out of ice or something.
That's true.
In a room.
And then, the third scene in this movie has a voiceover from Michael Caine.
Uh-huh.
Who's in this movie.
Yep.
And I was like, wait, is that Michael Caine?
I saw his best scene.
And then Michael Caine shows up.
I didn't watch the whole movie, but I saw his best scene.
Yep. And then Michael Caine shows up, and he's like, I'm Michael Caine. and then he's like, but I've been working for you for too long, so I'm gonna leave now. And I was like, why was Michael Caine in this movie? And then Michael Caine leaves the movie, and he's like, this is the person taking over. And it's Elijah Wood. And I was like, holy crap, Elijah Wood's in this movie. What's Elijah Wood doing here? And apparently, so Vin Diesel.
That was the D&D game.
Yeah.
It was those 3 people.
Yeah, and Michael Caine couldn't make it the next week, so Elijah Wood filled in for him. Apparently, Vin Diesel was part of a group of people that hunted witches. Then he became immortal. And then the group of people he used to hunt witches with, or at least the people that were still alive, became the Watchers Council, but just for him. And they like chronicle him and they help him out, and much like Buffy, I don't know what else they do.
And of course, they must be British.
They are, yes.
You have to
well,
have
I mean, Elijah Wood's not British.
Oh, okay. You said Michael Caine was one of them, right?
Yeah. Well, Michael Caine is his. They have a name for him.
Yeah. Okay.
Kind of mentor. It's really weird because remember he's like 500 years old.
Yeah.
But Michael Caine still acts like his mentor because he's not immortal. He's just a guy. The movie does not remember that he's immortal except for plot reasons.
Yeah, you're just whatever age you look like you are.
Yeah, I've never seen a movie.
That's the sense I got from that ending scene that I saw where he where he attempted a smile and it freaked me out. Yeah. Vin Diesel should stop attempting smiles. It's a bad idea.
I've never seen a movie introduce an antagonistic love interest so late and resolve it so quickly. We're like halfway through this movie when the antagonistic love interest shows up. And then, like, 2 scenes later, it's like they've been through a whole movie together. It's weird. And then, we get to the end. Spoilers. Elijah Wood was bad the whole time, and I was legitimately surprised you got to see that.
Yeah.
I legitimately did not know that was going to happen.
I, however, did not see him before he was bad, so I was not surprised in the least, because I didn't know what was going on.
And then Michael Caine kills a spider with an iPad, or with a book, and says, try doing that with an iPad.
Try doing that with an iPad.
And then I watched...
That was the best!
And then I watched the, like, 2 hours of special features on the DVD. Oh, well, before I get to that. So I watched the movie. It was basically exactly what I thought it was going to be, which means I enjoyed it quite a bit. It's not as good as Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters.
Didn't you have a complaint about something that they called Witch something? where you were like, why do we have to have a generic name for everything?
Oh! Witch
Like
prison!
this?
There's a witch prison, and they call it witch prison!
Witch prison? And you're like, can't we be more creative than witch prison?
Yes, no, but that's part of its charm. Which I'll get to when I talk about special features in a second. So, I get to the end of the movie, and I'm like, that's basically what I thought it was. Like,
yeah.
I'll probably buy that on DVD when it's like $2, much like Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunter. Those times because Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunter. I think I'm just gonna start watching Witch Hunter movies because apparently I like those.
I think you just got finished watching all of those.
No, there's more.
I think that is the end of the Witch Hunter.
But then I go and watch the 2 hours just behind the scene features, and I'm like, how does this keep happening? They thought this stuff out so far. There are pictures that you don't even get to really get a good look at in the movie. I'm sure you could see them on the movie screen, like on the theater. On my
this
TV.
Sounds like Man of Steel.
Yeah. Well, except that's not plot important. It's just about the level of detail. So
but Man of Steel also has that problem.
In his apartment, he has Vin Diesel has pictures of him throughout history, and I get the impression they know what each and every one of those, the story behind each and every one of those pictures. They've thought out this mythology to a complex degree. They know, like, they can make 10 movies out of the amount of effort and thought they put into this world. None of it is communicated to me.
It way
just
more
feels
generic than that.
really generic.
Yeah.
And it keeps happening, and I'm really bummed because, I mean, I would go see a second to last Witch Hunter, like, last Witch Hunter 2, like, I would... Also, that's weird because he's not the last Witch Hunter because there are other Witch Hunters because he's part of a guild.
But I think that's what you should call it, but it would have to be a prequel, the second to last Witch
They
Hunter.
could! We know for a fact he knew, Mussolini, I think? They name drop a couple of historical figures he knew! Because, of course, being immortal, you have to be there for every important historical event. And he knew a bunch of these... I would totally go see prequel movies to this.
But I'm just saying that would be a great title, right? Second to last Witch Hunter. Like, that's really fun.
Yeah. But yeah, it's fun. It's not good. If you like Vin Diesel movies, go see it. Support him. He deserves your support. He's a national treasure.
He's not national treasure, but he's a...
No, he's not in National Treasure, but he is a national treasure. And then I also watched Willow, which was spurred by a Facebook comment where Matt shared something from like 4 or 5 years ago. That was a day we all watched Willow, which is the only time I've ever seen the film Willow. And he was like, man, I really wish we could watch Willow again. I was like, yeah, but it's bad. So I rewatched Willow.
To see if you still felt the same way.
See myself, I wanted to reassess.
Yeah.
Maybe I was missing something. Maybe I was expecting too much from this film. I'm not, and I want to write a paper on it. I want to write a paper breaking down how, scene for scene, plot point for plot point, this movie is Star Wars, and I don't understand why it works in Star Wars but doesn't work here. Yeah. I want to know why it feels lazy and cheap. Why does everything work in Star Wars? Why does the humor work better? Why do I believe what I believe in Star Wars, but here it looks like unfinished or old? I watch Star Wars and I don't feel like I'm watching an old movie. I watch this and it feels like it came out in 1980. Like, I don't know what it is that breaks down, why fantasy can't exactly get it like science fiction does, but like, I think it's fascinating, and that's the only reason to watch Willow, is to look at this and go, well, this is basically Star Wars, but not good. But it's made by the man, or at least produced by the man who made Star Wars, and from what I understand, he is as hands-on with the making of this film as he is with Return of the Jedi. So it's not like Howard the Duck, where it seems like he just kind of gave them money, he was like, I really like Howard the Duck, make a Howard the Duck movie. He co-directed this movie unofficially. I don't know what happened. The only thing I can guess is what everyone said happened in Return of the Jedi with the Ewoks, but like he got really concerned about kids. He's too concerned about children.
Is that what it is?
None of the humor plays. It's all really broad. It's not like Jar Jar Binks bad, but it's possible that that's what it is. But that doesn't save the fact that, like, Darth Vader is an incredibly menacing figure, and the heavy in this film is nothing. He just has no presence. He's not scary. The costume sucks.
Could that also partly be because he's too concerned about kids? He doesn't want to scare them? He's not...
Maybe? He doesn't seem concerned about that with Indiana Jones. Oh, that's Steven Spielberg, and he's... This is early Ron Howard director.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know.
I'm just saying, if we're just comparing it to Star Wars, we're not just looking at kids when we make Star Wars. Pretty clearly.
No, and I don't think it's supposed to be just kids. It's supposed to be like Star Wars, like it's an everyone movie.
Yeah.
Everyone can get something out of this, except you can't. I know a lot of people hold this up as like a good fantasy movie. It's not good. It also does the thing that I hate more than anything in the world, which is Willow wants to be a magician, specifically like a magical magician, like a sorcerer. And there is a sorcerer in his village, and he kind of gets picked to maybe go like every couple of years. That guy tries to pick an apprentice, and every year people fail, and you have to wait till the next year to try out because he wants an apprentice before he dies. And Willow wants to be that apprentice. And then through the entire movie, Willow doesn't have magic. He just lies. And we reward him for being basically a con man, and he gets to do like a little bit of magic, like maybe he might have magical abilities, and I'm bored. If you're going to give me a magical character, give me a magical character. Do not give me someone who can't do magic that just keeps whining about how he wants to do magic.
Yeah.
Also, Warwick Davis, no offense, not ready for this role. He is 17 when he plays this. He's playing like a 100-year-old character. Doesn't feel like it.
Doesn't look world weary enough, or
no. Jumping back to Elijah Wood, something Elijah Wood was able to pull off very, very well in the Lord of the Rings film. Also, this movie's just a ripoff of The Hobbit. Like with Star Wars, he like started Flash Gordon and became something his own. With this, he started The Hobbit and then quit.
Yeah.
And it's kind of just The Hobbit with a little bit of Moses. But yeah, I still don't like Willow. I'm sorry if you like Willow. I don't get it. I just don't get it. I don't get what the appeal is. I don't even like Val Kilmer that much, and like that's the one thing everyone like agrees on is like Val Kilmer's brilliant in this film. He's fine.
And you don't like dislike Val Kilmer or anything.
No, he's amazing in Tombstone. He's the second best Batman of the 90s. Like I like Val Kilmer. He's great in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Like I like Val Kilmer. Like this is not an anti-Val Kilmer thing. I just don't get it. I don't get Willow, and I don't get why fantasy movies have to suck until Lord of the Rings.
I've never
Outside
watched
Conan.
that movie because I don't like fantasy movies that much, and so I never thought to watch them.
And you probably don't like fantasy movies because movies like that are what got made.
Yeah.
If Lord of the Rings came out in the 70s, I don't know if you would entirely have your thing.
I don't know either. It's hard to say.
So yeah, I don't know. From the dawn of cinema to Lord of the Rings, you have like maybe 3 movies worth watching in the fantasy genre.
It's good to know. At least I don't have to waste my time.
You should see Conan at some point. It's good.
Yeah, I've always meant to. And
there's some killer James Earl Jones.
I forgot he was in that.
He's a bad guy.
Eric, I'm going to talk really briefly about Annihilation, which I should have brought up at the beginning when we were talking about newer movies, but I thought I'd let you talk for a while, and then I would talk for a while. So you talk.
No, stop paying attention. Not feeling it, not feeling it. That's my list.
Who talks first? I talk first, you talk first. So Annihilation, I don't want to say too much about because nobody saw it and people should see it, and it's probably not playing in a theater near you anymore.
We went a week, so you told me that you really liked this movie that I should see it.
Yeah.
We went a week after you saw it to go see Tomb Raider, and there were 2 showings.
Like 2 showings, yep.
One was at like noon, and one was at like 2.
Yeah, so you probably can't see it now until it comes out on video, which is really unfortunate. I won't say this is a movie that you have to see on the big screen. I think it looks great on the big screen. Mm-hmm. I think it's probably fine on a TV screen also. It's not a huge spectacle piece, but the special effects are spectacular. So Annihilation is one of the most interesting and original takes I've seen in a long time on the standard, and of course a lot of science fiction stories are about this, the standard what makes a man story without doing it with robots and stuff. And like it's kind of that. I find this to be a really difficult movie to describe and to explain.
Either we could talk about it, we would have trouble talking.
We could, but I would just stutter a lot and say, "Well, watch it and get back to me." And also, it's a movie that I walked out thinking I need to immediately see this a second time to really fully appreciate what was going on. And there's reads I don't know if I'm right about and stuff like that. And I saw this like 3 weeks ago. But it's I say what makes a man a man. It's about of course the nature of humanity, but humanity's relationship to nature at large. And the big question is, there's a big psychosomatic question in this. The big question is how much of our of our reasoning and ability to think for ourselves is mixed up in our natural like processes and chemical makeup and stuff. So there's this big giant soap bubble. And
I saw that in the trailer.
Inside the big giant soap bubble are a bunch of really weird and horrifying looking creatures and plants and things that are made by some unknown force that we find out at the end what it is that I won't explain. That I won't give away.
Does it feel like a good payoff?
It's not a big surprise or anything. The bigger payoff is more just like what it's able to do and how far it goes than what exactly it is. I don't even know if it would be that big of a deal if I spoiled it, but I'm not going to because I want people to see it.
Was it Dracula the whole time?
It's not Dracula the whole time. Anyway, so big giant soap bubble. If you go into the soap bubble,
this is based on a novel. I want to believe that's how the novel describes it.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. It's a big soap bubble. Anyway, so you go into the big soap bubble. It's hard to get out, and weird things start to happen around you as it's described in the movie, as in the things that should be impossible are happening, and the movie does a really good job of. I mean, it feels like hard science fiction. The movie does a really good job of explaining what is going on and why it shouldn't be able to be happening, and then I guess I buy as much as I possibly can that it can happen by the end. But basically we're mixing species together that you can't take two species together and merge them and have them like procreate and create something else, but that is essentially what is going on, and it just creates all these really horrifying things. And this is where I'm not sure if my read on it is right. I think what is going on is it's coming. I could be wrong about this. It's ultimately coming together to create one big giant collective organism, but I don't know if I'm right about that, and we don't see it go far enough to really know. But what's fascinating is it affects when it gets to human beings, and it starts doing things to us or replicating us, because it replicates things and it it assimilates things and it divides things, and when it gets to human beings, depending on who you are and your attitudes and your passions and how you think about things, it affects you differently, and that's fascinating. So it gets into your head, and it's as much about your own like logical reasoning and your self-awareness as it is your biology, and you wouldn't think that it would affect different people differently. Like it does, but it's a really grim film, and everybody is kind of broody and sad for different reasons, and everybody's pretty sympathetic, and I understand why they're the way they are. And it's not a totally humorless film, but it's a pretty grim, it's a pretty bleak movie, and I don't want to give anything away, but it just there's a character who has decided to pretty much give up, and that is represented in what the organism does to that person, and it's fascinating. There are places where it's just terrifying, and it has the scariest creature I've seen in a really long time, and this I will spoil because this is a thing that should get people to see this movie. I will come out because I have to talk about this, because I kind of lost it, and I was surprised that my wife enjoyed this as much as she did, because Sarah can be, for lack of a better word, kind of squeamish, and I thought this would be the scene that would make her want to run screaming, and I think she was just too fascinated by the ideas.
Thing, right?
And this movie reminded us a lot of The Thing.
Yeah, that's what you told me that made me want to see it.
And tonally, it has a lot of things in common with that. It's not. It's obviously not the same idea, but it comes from some of the same places. As far as like questions of identity and stuff like that you have in The Thing, and so anyway, there's this insane scene. So earlier in the film, there is this creature that they think is a bear, It's not a bear because nothing is what it is what it initially seems to be.
Snake bear.
That murders. It's worse than that. There's this bear-like creature that murders. That kills this girl, right?
First degree murders this girl.
And later on, we hear the girl who died. We hear her screaming outside of a room, but she's dead. And this girl that is in this expedition, because it's kind of an expedition horror film. It's got some alien sensibilities, and it's kind of a pick off the expedition one by one kind of movie. And in this room, this girl is lost. Has totally lost it, and she's upset with the main character because she's been lying to people about how she knows the guy that they've come into the soap bubble to try to rescue, who is actually her husband, but nobody knows that. Mm-hmm. And
that's weird because I know that from the trailer. The trailer tells you that.
I don't remember, but anyway.
Okay.
So it tells you what
that it's her husband. Do we, the audience,
we know that. We know that the whole time. I'm just saying that the expedition doesn't know.
Okay.
She doesn't want them. She's been asked by the people that lead the expedition not to tell them that because it might seem like she has too much of a conflict of interest.
I see.
So she's told, and the thing is, like, she's kidnapped to come here in the first place. So it's not even her idea to be here.
Oh,
that's a whole thing. And the reason that he ends up going into the bubble is indirectly somewhat her fault, and so she has kind of a road to redemption thing. That's some of the story and character motivations. But anyway, so she's So this woman that's lost it has tied up everyone in the expedition, and she's about to start torturing people. And all of a sudden, outside the room, they hear these horrifying screams, like when I left the theater, I was trying to get this out of my mind, of this girl that supposedly died, right? And she's like, and this woman that's lost it is like, wait, I thought you said that she was dead. She's angry also because Natalie Portman got her killed. Mm-hmm. And this horrifying monstrosity on four legs with this really bizarre mouth that has like two jaws, like a bottom jaw on top of a bottom jaw. Start walking. This is like kind of. It's sort of like a pig lizard, but it's scarier.
I knew it was going to go down.
It's scarier than the pig lizard.
Come down something like
but it's scarier than the pig lizard. Okay. So anyway, from Galaxy Quest. So anyway, it comes into the room, and it is this messed up amalgamation of the creature that killed that girl and the girl, and you don't see the girl. But every time it makes noises, it's making the screams she was making when she died. And it's freaking horrifying. It's just nuts. Anyway, that, you have to see it to really appreciate it, but it's the most haunting thing I've seen in a while. It's really screwed up. Anyway, but I thought that was a wonderful film. One of the neatest things about it, and this is not a thing I would have expected I would be praising, is choreography. There's this really cool and really creepy scene toward the end, and I don't know how to talk about this without giving it away, but I'll try, without giving too much away, but I'll try, where there is Natalie Portman is sort of duplicated, but it's a creature that doesn't look like her, but it mirrors all the movements she makes, and it's just really well choreographed, and it feels almost like ballet.
Interesting.
And
and she's got ballet training because of Black Swan.
Yeah.
And maybe just her life, I don't know.
Well, I mean, I wasn't even thinking about that for her. Like, whoever's in the suit opposite her,
oh, I see what you mean.
is mirroring her perfectly, and it's really cool. I mean, I guess they both have to do the same thing, but anyway, it's really unusual and a really original piece, I think. I've got to watch it again to really break it down. But my wife and I spent the whole way home trying to figure it out. Like, it's really thought-provoking. Anyway, I liked it a lot. I also wanted to mention...
Well, wait, before that...
Yeah.
if you want to hear not about the movie, but about Cap's theater-going experience while seeing that film, you can donate to Patreon and hear Cap's story about going to see this film.
It's the reason that episode of Geekvolution After Dark is called Strange Seat Fellows.
So
I don't know if you know
go
that,
subscribe to. I did not know that, but go subscribe to Patreon if you want to hear about his theater-going experience.
I also wanted to mention that the title is fascinating because it's called Annihilation, and we are being potentially annihilated by life.
Interesting.
It's fascinating, like because the thing that might wipe us out is creating life, and so then there's kind of a question of how much of a bad thing is this really?
And it's interesting because I'm pretty sure that's not the title of the novel.
Well, and I questioned whether it was a good title all the way through, and then it got fascinating by the end. But I don't feel prepared to discuss this, so I'm just saying things about my experience and what I thought was cool more than anything. There's certainly a really interesting analysis to be written about that movie. But anyway, I also wanted to talk really briefly about Batman Gotham by Gaslight, because Eric and I did a commentary on this it was our final commentary for Batmania this year, and I had not seen this without talking over it with Eric and expressing my immediate thoughts as we went through. So Eric didn't get a chance to watch this again, but I did.
I didn't feel compelled to.
And after I saw it again, I kind of felt the same way. Like I understood why you felt that way. There are a couple of things that I enjoyed a lot more on a second watch and a pure regular, not constantly talking watch. But the big concern we had remains a problem, which is really unfortunate. Ultimately, and I won't spoil this for anybody that hasn't seen it yet. Ultimately,
the twist feels like a twist and not.
Yeah, and there are a few. So the big mystery as to who Jack the Ripper actually is. There are a few signposts that where they clearly knew all the way through who it was, of course. But the problem is there are a couple of major scenes where it doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up that he would do things he's doing if that's who he is.
Am I right about his victims as well? Those victims don't make entire sense given his motivation?
Well, the bigger issue is that people aren't questioning it. That everybody... If Jack the Ripper's MO has always been killing young women, like young prostitutes, it doesn't make sense that once other random people start dying, that they all get lumped in, and that everyone just assumes that it must still be Jack the Ripper. But the whole thing we had about a character who wants Batman alive, but then turns out to be Jack the Ripper, still doesn't make any sense. I can't figure out why it's that way. The Three Robins thing is way better.
Oh, cool.
That I liked quite a bit, actually. And not talking over it, I realized what they were doing with it. And that whole thing was pretty cool. This looks better than it's written. I think it's still like a really good looking movie. I really like the animation a lot, and I like how simple it is. The designs are, I should say. And I still like this Catwoman quite a bit. It's one of the more intriguing takes on that character in a while, I think. And I still say that they were looking at Telltale when they made this. But yeah, the actual mystery breaks down, and that is unfortunate.
And Batman's mask sucks.
Yeah, I don't have that problem. I don't. So I don't know. I'm feeling the atmosphere and the superficial stuff and and some characterizations, especially with Catwoman. Although there's some stuff toward the end that I remember questioning with her, but I can't remember what exactly they were now. And voice acting is really good and stuff. But the mystery I'm not feeling. So I don't know. This is an impossible sign flip for me. The other thing is, it's hard not to just compare this to the other direct-to-video DC movies we've had lately, and compared to all of them, it's really good.
Sure.
But if I'm just looking at it in a vacuum, it's okay. It's not great. I don't know. When I eventually do a rewind, I suspect it will be somewhere between a 2 and a 2.5. I don't think this will quite reach a 3, but I don't know. until I've really written about it. So anyway, that is going to be it for how we felt about. Thanks a whole bunch for watching, everybody. And if you're just watching this as its own video, we sure appreciate it. We're going to move on now to more of the omnibus right after a quick break.